Hello, I am Leandria Clay, and this is my project, Mississippi Mud, Visibility for Black Women's Stories in Rural Mississippi. I'm currently a sophomore at Washington University in St. Louis, and I am double majoring in African and African American Studies, as well as anthropology. This is an oral history research project that will later be formulated into a documentary. In regards to the project background, I am a native of Mississippi, and my mother was born and raised in the rural town of Centreville. She has told me about her experiences growing up in town, including positive experiences like jumping over the tracks with her friends, and negative ones, including the time when she was denied being salutatorian of her high school because of her last name. She always told me how she knew she would leave from an early age, and just like her, a lot of people have decided to leave this town, and I wanted to explore why, specifically Black women, have decided to leave where they grew up. In order to inform my research, the main texts that I consulted for include Here Are Truths by Ruth Nicole Brown, Black Feminist Thought by Patricia Hill Collins, Coming of Age in Mississippi by Ann Moody, and Diachronic Loops, Dead Weight, Tonnage, Bad Made Measure by Catherine McKittrick from the Cultural Geographies Journal. I decided to do this research as a way for Black women to explain their own histories and explore their own experiences. In Here Are Truths, Ruth Brown writes, academic research that defines Black girlhood as absence or Black girls as always sexually immoral, a sum of bad choices, or as perpetual servants of other happiness persists. I wanted to challenge this by giving another avenue for Black girlhood studies. I had 3 questions guiding me during this research. The first one was why there was a significant lack of archival data on Black people despite how important their presence has been in the town. The next question was about how Black women have been treated, specifically in Centreville, as well as in comparison to a larger population of Black women globally. The last question encompasses finding connections between geography and oral history, since this project's primary aim is to create an archival record for Black women. One of the methods that I used in this research includes archival research, which was done at the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. At the physical archive, I read through books, journals, and newspaper articles. I also utilized the Mississippi Department of Archives and History website to look at things that were only on the website. I also conducted oral history interviews where I interviewed 6 Black women from Centreville. These interviews were all 30 minutes to an hour, and they were in person and unstructured in order to create a safe space for Black women to be as honest and vulnerable as they felt comfortable being. I also recorded these videos using a camera and a microphone, which was attached to the women's shirts. Along with the archives and the women's experiences, I decided to analyze the two through frameworks by Black theorists and Black women writers. 2 of the frameworks I used were Black Livingness by Catherine McKittrick, as well as Black Feminist Thought by Patricia Hill Collins. I also am making this into a documentary film, so I'm compiling all of these into a film that analyzes it. From the archives, one of the books was called The Plantation World of Wilkinson County, Mississippi, which spun from 1792 to 2012. It included a map documenting 84 plantations, including Rosemont Plantation, which was the boy home of Jefferson Davis. Seeing that this county is only 688 square miles and the town is only 2.2 square miles, and as well as the county having a population density of only 14 people per square mile, the amount of plantations baffled me. Also, the book included a story of a man hearing about exotic inhabitants. However, this book was published in 2013. It makes a distinction between laborers and women. So not only does the book sugarcoat the history of enslavement within the county, but it also works to delegitimize Black women's labor and contribution to the agricultural economy, which was upholding majority of the South. In the interviews I conducted, many of the women spoke about how they felt abandoned by the town leadership, including one woman mentioning how the burning of Finch Elementary in 2019 broke her heart, especially when kids had to start going to a school a town over. Another woman brought up how there is no grocery store in the town, so they have to go a town over or even cross the state border to Louisiana to get groceries. Along with the sense of abandonment, there was also an element of racism that could not be ignored. I interviewed an older woman named Miss Gladys Jenkins, who remembered seeing men protecting their families against white supremacist groups in the area. She said, the men would have to sit up at night to make sure nothing happened to their families because they were members of the NAACP. A 19-year-old woman named Samoya Toy also said she experienced a racist comment while working. A man came in the store and was saying, you're a pretty colored girl. I connected this to a similar story in Anne Moody's autobiography, and this type of literary analysis and connection was repeated for many of the other experiences the women spoke about. To answer the initial research questions that I have 3 critical conclusions. First, the significant lack of archival data is a direct neglect of Black people's presence. In the archives, the founding of the town is repeated from archivists across the years without acknowledging the history of enslavement. From the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, it commonly says that Elysian Fields, which was the original name of the town, was founded as a settlement. However, it fails to acknowledge all of the 84 plantations that are in the county, as well as the Black people who are imported from Centreville, Mississippi, like Anne Moody, who wrote Coming of Age in Mississippi. Since then, she has also been acknowledged and had a street named after her. However, where are her historical markers before that? In a conversation with my mother, she said that Centreville does not care about hiding history. They simply do not care that it happened. Second, Black women in Centreville face racism, colorism, and hypersexualization. Some of the women felt that they were perceived as ugly for being darker or Black, and fast for developing quicker than other girls, or just simply being a social person. Many received judgment from other Black people within the community, and these people were family members or friends. However, they also attribute this to being a universal issue that they would not be able to escape, even if they moved away. The lack of resources and access to self-progression makes a larger impact on decision-making, such as the lack of grocery stores in the area, or the inability to find good education for children, and there is also only one hospital in the area. Third, when looking at the treatment of Black women in rural areas as well as their experiences, it is important to recognize the difference in dynamics compared to urban areas. Whereas Black women in urban areas may have community outside of family or be able to form chosen families, Black women in rural areas are surrounded by people related to them or someone that they know. Because of Black women's ties to their families, they have an immense connection to the land. Women like Katrina Sieber Cotton have begun working in the town's government in order to change the town for the better. She also says that since the town has elected a new mayor who is also a Black woman, as well as the police chief being a Black woman, she believes that the town will get to where it needs to be. However, when Black women decide to leave, they also face a dilemma. Leaving home also means disconnecting from the people and the culture they have grown up with. My goals for future research is to travel back to Centreville for follow-up interviews during winter break, conduct photography of the women, and finish the documentary editing before the end of the spring semester. I would like to thank all of the people who encouraged me to pursue this endeavor and research idea that has been circulating in my mind since before I knew my timetables. I would like to thank my mother and sister, my wonderful faculty mentor, my APM who encouraged me to apply, my friends who have cheered me on, and those who granted me this award. If you have any feedback, feel free to contact me, and I will also be having a Zoom Q&A on Friday, December 2nd from 2 to 3 p.m. CST. Thank you so much.